All right. Let's turn that down a little bit. Ugh. Doing a little sound test. It should be fine. But let's make sure. I am a little sick today, so I apologize in advance if I sneeze or anything like that, or sound stuffy or weird. Yes, I can't help it. I'm gonna turn off the music. Doing a little sound test. Oh gosh, no. Okay, this sounds fine. All right. So, let me just make sure people know. We'll switch this over to public, because why not? People want to join in and talk to me or ask questions, that would be totally fine for a laid-back stream like this one, I think. Okay. Let me make sure everything's hunky-dory. I can see the chat. Okay. And I'm going to be recording locally so I can clean it up and offer a condensed audio version for everyone out there. And I think it would be fun at some point to get a camera and make my face be available to everyone. Because I realized that looking at a still image of a logo might not be the most captivating thing for everyone out there. Oh gosh. I'm gonna be so attractive today. If you are wondering what that music was, it is an awesome new Overclocked Remix album, Arcadia Legends. It's really, really good, and it's finally a giant collection of heartfelt tributes to and remixes of the Skies of Arcadia soundtrack, which is it's good. That's a good soundtrack for a good game. And you should all go download it because it's free and amazing. On that note, let's get started, shall we? Maybe I'll bring it up a little bit. It'll be on the stream slightly. I don't think it's overpowering. In fact, I'm not even sure people can... It's not even showing up. There it is. Huh. I'll just leave it down. Down real low. Okay. Clap my hands so I know where the podcast roughly begins on my recording. And away we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another wonderful episode of The Best Games, period. I'm your host, Jack Gardner, and I have to admit, today is Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and I didn't record anything, Naomi didn't record anything, and so we're just kind of left on a Monday without any episode to go out. And that's just unacceptable. So I am here and recording for you. I'm also live streaming this, so you can check those out. We've been a bit infrequent about live streaming just because our schedules have been so chaotic that we haven't been able to stick to any coherent schedule, which I know is kind of important for that whole streaming thing to work out. So we're going to try and be better about that in the future, especially for our lovely patrons on patreon.com/bestgamesperiod, who they get to watch in live. And occasionally when occasionally when there's a mess up episode like this one, we go live for everybody, which is the case right now. So, that's great. We're good. How are you? And you might notice that I'm the only one talking. That's because Naomi isn't with me today. She's off and busy and saving the world of video games, probably. And instead, we did something kind of like this a while back, where I had played through the awesome adventures of Captain Spirit and wanted to talk about it, and so we just kind of got on mic and talked about it until I was done, and that was kind of just like a fun little thing to put out there. This is kind of along the same lines, where it's not really an honorable mention, it's more just me spouting some waffle at you. As the kids say these days, I'm definitely not out of touch. So, yes. So I took to Twitter and I asked, through the Best Games Period Twitter account, twitter.com. You can find us at Best Games Period. I'm just putting all the plugs up in the beginning of the episode here. This is great. But I put all of that out on Twitter and was just like, hey, what do you want to hear me talk about? Because there's a bunch of things going on in the world of video games. There was just a insane stream going on from H-Bomber Guy, he's a prominent YouTuber. He makes a lot of thoughtful and insightful videos about various issues. His most recent video was about flat Earth theory and debunking it, and that was pretty interesting. But he decided that because this older comedian had in the UK had essentially raised this question about this prominent children's charity that helps trans youth, called Mermaids. They lost their government funding, I guess. And so H-Bomber Guy decided that he would have this stream of him playing Donkey Kong 64 until he was done. And it turns out that I guess a lot of people like trans folks, which was really that was really heartwarming for me as a trans person. And so they ended up raising $340,000 for that by playing Donkey Kong 64. And that's just more evidence that we live in the most bizarre timeline, but for once, it's actually a good thing instead of something awful and terrible. So, anyway, that happened, and it was just crazy to even be in that orbit of people. Friend of the show, Foldable Human on Twitter, Dan Olson, he was on the stream just hanging out with H-Bomber Guy, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez was on the stream, which is crazy. John Romero, just all kinds of people were on that I was going to say podcast, but live stream, and it was really, really awesome. And I kind of went into that a little bit on Twitter, just why something that on its face seems so silly can actually mean a whole heck of a lot to a lot of people. And so, yeah, that was a good part of the weekend. And of course, the other good part was Ace Combat 7, which just came out, and it is just so much fun and so gosh darn pretty, and I will probably be talking about that in a little bit. But I took to Twitter and asked what you all wanted to hear about, and one of the responses was really good. It's from a friend of the show, Golden Corsair, who frequently watches these live streams, so shout out to Golden Corsair. And we really appreciate when people take the time out of their day to interact with us on Twitter. It's really refreshing, and it just kind of gives some faces to the people who listen out there. I know sometimes I look at our analytics for the show, and I'm like, there's clearly like one person in New Zealand who listens to our show. Who is that person? What do they like about it? It's just interesting to me. Anyway, Golden Corsair dropped by our Twitter account and stated that he wanted to see me talk about my most anticipated titles of 2019, which is a great topic. I went into this quite a bit with Marcus Stewart. He's just launching a new podcast called Marcus Talks About Games, and I'm a guest on the first 2 episodes of it, where we talk about a bunch of upcoming games and kind of what's going on with them and what makes them interesting, and it was a lot of fun. We recorded for such a long time. I'm not shocked that it's in 2 episodes. So, that being said,